Somewhere out here is an entire mining village that's been left to disappear. Homes, stamp batteries, mine workings, an entire community that's been totally lost. What remains today? Well, let's not dilly-dally, subscribe now and let's go and have a look.
Our tour concludes at a remarkable little outpost in the East Branch of Growlers Creek. Now, there weren't as many mines in the East Branch of Growlers Creek as there were in the West Branch, but most of these mines were exceptionally rich. A number of quartz reefs were worked in this locality. The richest of these was Richardson's, and that was discovered at some stage in about late 1859. Its official recorded production for the first couple of years was quite extraordinary. It produced something like 6,500 ounces of gold from 3,000 tonnes of quartz. Later accounts actually say that it produced as much as 20,000 ounces of gold in these early years. A regional newspaper published a little snippet on this mine back in 1860, and it stated that Richardson's was probably the best reef in the colony. Decades, there are at least 5 different stamp batteries set up for Richardson's Reef and other quartz reefs in this vicinity. This is one of those battery sites, and this particular battery must have been driven by steam, because what we've got behind us is a rock boiler setting, and on the other side of that would have been once a large, probably 20-foot long Cornish boiler. Now, Cornishmen had a lot to do with mining, particularly in Victoria and Australia in the early days. They worked in the mines up here, and it was probably Cornish stonemasons that knocked up this beautiful boiler setting behind me. Now, because we're in an isolated location, we're about 5 kilometres or more from the township of Wandiligong, and with a large population of miners here, a settlement sprung up, and little huts and sleigh tracks and that were established all around, coming into this central area from all the mines. And what we're left with are all of these beautiful fireplaces dotted about all around the hillsides all around here. And now this settlement was actually called Gunnies Lake. And Gunnies Lake was a small place in Cornwall. So we've got that connection here from the Cornish miners that quite likely worked these mines, felt that this was a home away from home, so they named it after the little village in Cornwall. Gunnies Lake was also the name of a quartz mine in this area, and that was situated right up in the hills back up in here. But you can just get a sense of what this place is like just from this fireplace alone. It's a nice little tiny quaint little thing, and you can imagine the miners at the end of the day coming back, sitting by their fireplace, drying out and resting after a hard day's work. What we've got here is a magnificent fireplace. Well, it looks like a fireplace, but it was actually once a tall chimney, and we can tell that by this piece of metal here. This once supported the arch, and then all the rockwork went up there and extended up there. But not only that, on the rear side of this fireplace is another low hearth that looks like it was once used for cooking. So this hut side actually extends for probably about 20 feet or 10 feet either side of me, and would have been a quite substantial building. And it was probably some sort of boarding house or something for the miners and their families that once lived here. You can tell a lot just by the remaining fabric at these historic places. And when you add this to the facts and figures of research, you start to build up a really good picture. But more importantly are the personalised counts of individuals and the people that worked here. And really that's what these stories of these places is all about. It's about the people, the miners and their families that lived in these remote situations. Now, we've lost a lot of the tales. All the people that were once here have died, but occasionally handed down through generations are little snippets of places, and there's one on here on Gunnies Lake. Agnes O'Donnell, who's a resident in Wandiligong, spoke to some descendants that knew people that worked here, the Gow family. And one of the old Gow residents recalled how a woman was living here whose partner was a miner here, and this particular woman actually gave birth to a baby at this very site. So I should be saying now, you can hear the echoes of the batteries in the hills around if you stand still. But in this situation, you can hear the cry of a newborn baby as it's brought into the world in this magnificent remote place of Gunnies Lake. The stories of the mines of Wandiligong have largely been lost, but by doing some research of the facts and figures and then adding some of that personalised anecdotal evidence, we're able to breathe a little bit of life back into these remarkable historic places. If it weren't for the wealth generated from the quartz mines over many decades, Wandiligong, as we know it today, would be a totally different place. Perhaps it would just be a few small farms run by farmers, but because of quartz mining, we're left with this beautiful landscape of little cottages and old public buildings and so on, and that's all because of gold. Visiting our abandoned mining sites can evoke a strong sense of history and respect for our early pioneers. Hidden in the hills of Wandiligong today are still thousands of untold stories. Wandiligong Mines, fellas. Well, thanks for your assistance of the lighting, the catering, the makeup, and the script work. Greatly appreciated.
You're right, it wasn't easy.
It wasn't easy.
Not out.